Hello and welcome to Budget Model Railways, and tonight we're looking at N gauge still, but UK outline. Most of you know I've been doing quite a bit of N gauge, but continental and European and Japanese. Worth watching through this video. I'm going to show this and hopefully another layout as well. This is not a layout you've seen much of, and I've got a couple of comments at the end. Not controversial, but you know, some views as I like to do at the end of my videos. So worth watching. So this layout you've only ever seen once before. I did it as a project to see if I could make a layout in a small chest of drawers. So it's only 16 by 7.5 inches and it's only 3.5 inches tall. But I wanted to do a video, excuse me, I wanted to do a video on UK outline. And rather than make another layout, I remembered I'd got this rather nice one. It's quite a classic little ingle nook. I've got a tunnel mouth there, a little bit of track as a fiddle yard, signal box, station hall, goods shed, cattle dock, coal yard, grounded body van. So it's quite a nice little layout. It's just a simple ingle nook, 2 points. This is actually roofing felt for the ballast, painted grey for the tarmac. And I'll come to the buildings and things in a minute. So most of you know I'm quite scathing about UK outline prices. Locomotives are almost double what Japanese locomotives are. And the second-hand prices are at least £20 more than a new Japanese Kato loco. So for me, UK outline's very expensive, and I haven't found the locomotives particularly reliable, which is why I haven't sort of done anything UK. But a couple of things made me want to look at it again. It's mostly the locomotives that's the issue. I'll talk about rolling stock in a moment. And what's made that possible is this, which is, of course, Kato. But it is the Kato UK outline locomotive. Quite nice. BR black, lion on wheel motive. It does come with red buffer beams as stickers, but they don't work very well. But if it bothers you, you could paint them red. Being Kato, it's an extremely smooth runner, even over points. They are excellent shunters. I was actually doing some fairly extensive shunting, if you like, evaluations the other night. And discovered that these steeple cab locos are probably the best locos I own in N gauge for shunting. Obviously, there wasn't a lot of electric shunters like that in the UK, but they did exist. There were a number of private lines. And obviously, there were one or two more famous mainline lines, like the Woodhead route. But it's not beyond all realms of reality that there could be a little steeple cab. There were quite a few private lines as well, actually, in things like power stations and so on. So that's a possibility. £42 new, which makes it an extremely cheap locomotive for being such a good locomotive, because they'll also pull 8, 9, 10 wagons, no trouble at all. Now, you've got some other options sticking with Kato. So this is one of our 3D printed bodies. Lots of people do them. That happens to be our 3D printed body, painted up to look like a UK locomotive. Line on wheel again logo, BR green here with full yellow ends. And again, being a Kato chassis, that's the little pocket line ones. You can pick them up currently for about £25. And then get your body of your choice. And that then gives you the option of a couple of very nice little locomotives. So yes, you can do UK outline on a budget when it comes to the locos, as long as you don't want anything too grand. Wagons though, that's a slightly different story. That's not too bad, because you have these Pico wagon kits. Now these are currently around £8, £9. I find with a bit of work, that's one I've made as a tarpaulin load. That's toilet paper. Painted, black washed, works a real treat. They do paint up exceptionally well. There's a cattle wagon there. I just black wash them, dry brush them, bit of road dirt with a dry brush on the wheels. And they look absolutely splendid. And they're about £8.50. Yes, I know a few years ago they were £6.50, but that's the current inflationary world that we live in. Box van there as well, just trying to get it to focus actually. Camera's having a few problems tonight, but you can see how well they paint up. So there's box vans 16-ton coal wagon. There's a brake van there. So within the range, there's every wagon you could want. They're really simple. They're just a body, a roof, a chassis and some wheels, and they paint up really well. So the 8 or 9 wagons that you want to do in Inglenook are not going to set you back too much money when new wagons are £15–20. So that does give you the option. If I'm just going to see if I can get to take this diesel out. That didn't couple very well. It's just and then so that's the freight side of it. Passenger side's a little bit more tricky, but there are some options. Just fiddling in the fiddle yard. You could have a nice little auto coach. I picked that up for £12. You can pick them up for about £15. Daypole. Obviously, it's got the windows in the end because it's an auto coach, and that would enable you to run some quite nice little passenger services out of that. And you've also got the option, while we're talking, such a free runner, it's just rolled backwards. If we're talking about 3D printing, then of course you can do what we've done, which is just 3D print some simple little shorter coaches, and you can then run them quite happily. So all in all, yes, I think you could say, yes, you can do UK Outland Engage on a budget, so long as you're sensible about what it is you're trying to achieve. As soon as you start wanting to run a big steam loco, they're going to cost you £100. They're going to cost you £70–80 second hand. I haven't found the Graham Farish or the Daypole ones to be particularly good slow runners. They're nothing like the Kato. They're not as smooth. They're not as quiet. They're not as reliable. And they're a lot more expensive. If you want something nice, I'd really love a Class 22. That's £130. It simply doesn't run any better than the Kato stuff at £75. But if you want to run UK Outline, then the options are there. And then obviously some of the other options, I'll just bring you around here. Some of you remember this, which is the town scene layout. And that would work very well as well. You could run one of the new Kato trams in that. There were all sorts of electric systems in the UK. And you could run your freight trains around there and everything quite happily. So you've got a nice classic UK town scene there, which both of those previous locos would look absolutely fine running around. So with those locos, I think it's possible. Now, I did say I would mention a couple of things, if you like. It has to be said, this is the freelance set, same loco, 2 wagons, exactly the same price as buying the UK one. I guess that's the price of copyright and so on. But it does mean that this is a much better price. But of course, you know, if you want to do UK, it's possible. It's worth pointing out that these brand new, really nice, well-detailed free-running wagons by Kato, that is the same price as a Payco wagon kit. You know, you pay your money, you take your choice. But I know most people like UK, and I think it was important to do a little video that says, yes, you can do UK Outline on a budget, in a small space, for about the same price as I've been doing freelance and Japanese. I'm getting quite into this. I like this loco. I don't care how factually correct it is. You know, I don't care about these things. I particularly like the diesel. I think that's very Class 14, Class 17 look-alike. We've done the other recent one, which I haven't got one handy, which is a little bit like a 15-16. So with 3D printing, a couple of options there. Or you just go and buy yourself the nice Kato one. As always, Train Tracks, great place to buy it. I paid 42 from Train Tracks. A lot of places are asking 50, 52 for them. So as always, it pays to shop around. The other thought that occurred to me the other day, as I do thinking about these things, we've had railways in this country from around the 1850s to the present time. So about 175 years. And one of the problems with UK outline, whatever scale or gauge you're working in, is the fact that most people are only interested in a very short 45-year period, from grouping, 1923, to the end of steam in 1969. And that's a problem, because not only have we a small market anyway, but the vast majority of railway modellers are modelling one small 60-year period. 40-year period, actually, about a 45-year period. There were railways for, if you like, 70 years prior to the grouping, which was really the heyday. When people talk about the heyday of railways, they talk about the 50s and 60s because they were kids, and that's what they remember. By then, the railways were dying and dead. The real heyday of the railways was prior to the 1920s, before the advent of trucks and cars. And more importantly, the revival of the railways, as more esteemed people like me, like Mr. Knock and so on, wrote about, have really been since, if you like, the 1980s, 1990s, an area again which is very little modelled. And I can't help thinking that if people want to make UK modelling broader, we need to get a way of concentrating on this very limited period, 1923, 1969. And I know there's a lot of people do BR Blue, but even that, if you think about it, is getting on for over 50 years now, gone. And that's another 50 years that we need to be looking at. Anyway, that's my little rant and my little thoughts. I think we end up being a narrow time niche in what is already a small market, double O. In N, less reason and justification for it. Although again, of course, in N, we have to have a different scale to the rest of the world, as always, which limits its appeal. I don't worry about the difference in scale in N. I don't think it's big enough to worry about it in such a small scale. There you go, little rant over. But I hope you enjoy the idea of doing UK outline. And this meets for me all the requirements of what budget model railways are. We're still doing it cheaply. We're still modelling because the wagons are great fun to build. But simple, cheap, easy. So in future, when I do my videos, I'm going to try and say a little less that you can't do UK outline. You can do it on a budget. So long as you're not over ambitious on what it is you're trying to achieve. Some of you will be jumping up and down. That's fine. If you've got the money for 100, 130 pound locos, 15, 20 pound wagons, that's wonderful. Oh, I did say briefly I was going to mention the buildings. I've already, extensively used Metcalfe. This is a mix of the Pico and Wills kits and the Gagemaster Kestrel kits. Again, the Gagemaster Kestrel kits are particularly good, particularly cheap. The Wills Pico ratio models are much nicer, but very much more expensive. But it's still possible on a small layout like this not to have to spend too much money. So there we go. Be interested to know what you think. But UK outline N on a budget. Thank you as always for watching.